자, 오늘은 또 어린이 주일이 됩니다. The Korean churches celebrate today as Children's Sunday. 그래서 오늘 주일을 말씀을 준비하면서 여러분과 함께 이 부분을 함께 고민해 보면 좋겠다라는 생각을 하나님께서 주셨습니다. So Lord has prompted in my heart to share with you about this particular topic as we come to focus in raising next generation, raising our children within each families and also as a church. How are we going to commit in raising our kids for God's kingdom? 하나님의 나라를 위해서 우리 자녀들을 어떻게 참 양육해내면 좋을까라는 고민들을 우리 모두가 하고 있지 않습니까? 그랬을 때에 갑자기 또 마음속에 하나님께서 주시는 질문이 하나 있었는데 그것은 마가의 어머니가 계속 생각이 났습니다. So as I was actually preparing this talk, God prompted in my heart to actually just remember Mark's mother, the Mark who wrote the Gospel of Mark, and his mother. We get to actually see some shades of her presence in certain parts of the Bible. 그래서 성경의 부분 그림자처럼 살짝 등장하는 이 마가의 어머니가 있습니다. 그분의 이름은 메리, 한국어로는 마리아라고 우리가 부릅니다. 그래서 오늘은 마리아는 마가를 어떻게 양육했을까? 어떻게 키웠을까라고 하는 그런 주제를 가지고 생각을 좀 해보면 어떨까 싶었습니다. So I'd like to spend some time thinking about how Mary would have raised Mark. 그러면 우리가 우선 마크의 가정 환경을 한번 생각해 보면 좋은 시작이 될 것 같습니다. So it will be a good start as we just trace Mark and begin with what we can know about his family background. 성경을 통해서 우리가 보여줄 수 있는 가족 관계들을 우리가 조금 생각해 보았으면 좋겠습니다. So we do have certain Bible verses where it explicitly explains to us that this house is actually Mark's house. And in this house, these certain things were happening in Mark's house. And Mark, who was part of that household, was doing this and this. 이런 식으로 마가의 집에 대해서 소개를 하고 있고 성경은 마가의 집에서 어떤 일들이 일어나고 있는지 또 마가는 어떤 일들을 하고 있었는지에 대해서 어느 정도 알 수 있습니다. 우리가 하나씩 그런 부분들을 우리가 좀 생각해 보면서 마리아의 심정, 엄마 대신 마리아의 심정, 또 아들로서 성장해 나갔었던 마가의 혹시 고민, 갈등 이런 것들은 어떤 것이 있었을까 한번 생각해 보면 좋지 않을까 싶습니다. So through those hints that we read from the Bible, perhaps let's actually think about what Mary might have thought and felt as she was raising Mark, and perhaps even look into Mark's heart and perhaps look into what Mark was going through, the struggles, the challenges that he had to overcome. 처음부터 일단 우리가 let's actually try to link the missing puzzles. 처음부터 한번 이렇게 생각을 해보게 되면은 as Jesus was preparing the Passover feast, the Passover meal, which is known as the Last Supper. 예수님의 마지막 만찬, 유월절 만찬을 준비하실 때에 제자들에게 이러한 아주 특이한 지시를 주십니다. He instructs to his disciples to enter into the main streets in Jerusalem and notice that a man who's carrying a water jar, a jar filled with water. 그래서 예루살렘 그 거리로 가서 제자들에게 예수님께서 말씀하시기를 물동이를 지고 가고 있는 남성을 찾아라. 이런 지시를 주세요. So as we read, us being Koreans and us being non-Jewish people, us being foreigners, as it comes to the biblical culture, and we sort of read through it, man carrying a water jar. But if you look into the first century culture in Jerusalem, in a Jewish community, it's very unlikely that you will see a man carrying a jar filled with water. 이렇게 물동이를 지고 가고 있는 남자, 그 당시 그 시대 그 상황 속에서 이건 굉장히 흔하지 않은 아주 특이한 모습이었을 것입니다. 그렇기 때문에 그런 사람이 이렇게 지나가고 있으면 금방 저 사람이다 라고 볼 수 있었던 그런 특징이 있기도 했습니다. So it's easily noticeable if you happen to see a man carrying a water jar, because that's something that you don't get to see usually in the streets in Jerusalem back in first century amongst those Jewish cultural people. 그래서 유대인들의 사회 속에서는 흔하지 않은 모습이었기 때문에 so they met and that man led the disciples to this particular house and showed them a room which was already set up for the Passover meal. 이렇게 유월절 만찬이 이미 잘 세팅이 되어져 있는 방으로 제자들을 인도했고 바로 그곳에서 예수님과 그의 제자들이 식사를 마지막 만찬을 거기서 하게 됩니다. Now, 마지막 만찬을 하는 과정 속에서 you know the story really well. On the night of his betrayal, as he was breaking bread and sharing wine, this is something that he warns to Judas. And as soon as they finish having the meal, Judas leaves them. 유다가 식사를 마치자마자 그 모임에서 나와서 어디론가 가버립니다. And in the Gospel of John, John's records of what happened on that night by saying, well, as soon as the meal is finished, Judas left the room and it was nighttime. 밤 시간, 깜깜한 시간이었다고 이야기를 해주고 있습니다. So we know that they had a late meal into the night and Judas has left them as they finished the meal. So Judas wasn't there when Jesus led the disciples to walk out of the house and walk down the hill by exiting the Golden Gate, so-called, or it's known also as the East Gate of Jerusalem. So they entered out of the gate, and it's a hill down into a Kidron Valley, which leads to the Mount Olives. And to the entrance to the Mount of Olives, there's a little garden called Gethsemane. And that's where Jesus has taken the disciples to go together to pray. 이렇게 그 성전 골든 게이트라고 하는 곳을 나와서 동문이라고 하는데요. 언덕을 내려가면 이제 기드론 골짜기가 나오고 기드론 골짜기는 올리브산으로 연결이 되어지는 입구가 되어지는데 그 입구에 겟세마네 동산이 있었고요. 그 겟세마네 동산에서 예수님께서는 제자들과 함께 늦은 밤에 기도를 하고 있었습니다. So, as Jesus led the disciples to go to that garden to pray, Judas wasn't there. All that Judas knows is that last time that he has seen Jesus, well, he was having a meal together in the upper room near the gate by the what we call Golden Gate. So, 이런 상황을 생각해 보세요. And it was a Sabbath night as well. So, on a Sabbath day, you are not allowed to walk beyond certain distance. There's only a limited distance that you are allowed to walk. So obviously, from the Golden Gate down to that little garden at the entrance to the Mount Olives, if you have started walking from a certain house to walk down the hill to go to the garden, that's got to be within the proximity, within that limited walking allowed distance. 그래서 율법적으로 안식일 날 걸어갈 수 있는 거리, 허용된 거리, 그 이내에 있는 짧은, 가까운 이런 상황들을 우리가 생각해 보게 되겠죠. So we can intellectually guess that particular upper house where Jesus had the Last Supper with the disciples was probably very close to the Golden Gate, just inside the Golden Gate of the Jerusalem wall. So they were able to actually walk out of the Golden Gate, walk down the hill, and go to the garden without having any Jewish people accusing them to walking too far and breaking the Sabbath law. It's allowed. It was okay. 그래서 이제 그런 위치를 우리가 한번 생각을 해보면 좋을 것 같습니다. 왜 그렇습니까? And then as we open up the book of Acts, as people have gathered to see Jesus going up to heaven, and as they have witnessed what has happened, and after all that is done, they have returned to where they were staying. And in Acts, it actually says, well, that was within the Sabbath walking distance, just like that location where they had the Last Supper few days earlier. So we can speculate, perhaps the disciples probably continued to lodge in that same house where they had the last meal with Jesus. And that was the place where they continued to pray. And as they were praying, as we read the chapter 1 of the book of Acts, there was Mary, who was the mother of Jesus, and the brothers of Jesus were also present in the room praying together. And the people numbered close to 120 that we know, right? So it's a sizable room, I guess, where probably as big as this at least, I guess, to have 120 people plus were able to come together to pray. 참 공간이 꽤 넓은, 뭐 확실하게 넓은 곳은 아니겠지만 적어도 우리가 지금 모여있는 이 정도 공간쯤은 되지 않았었을까. 왜냐, 한 120여 명의 성도들이 함께 모여서 기도할 수 있는 공간이었다면 꽤 넓은 공간이었겠구나 싶은 생각이 듭니다. Now, linking that to Acts chapter 12, where we know that angel has paid a visit to Peter, who was locked up in a prison. And with all these miraculous events, Peter was led outside the prison, and the angel led him to the streets while it was still dark in the middle of the night. And as Peter realizes that, oh, God has just rescued me from prison. As soon as he wakes up to that reality, he walks straight to this house. Why? Because in that house, the Christians were praying all throughout the night. As he was knocking on the door, we read in chapter 12, verse 12, a servant girl by the name Rhoda runs out to answer the knocking. And as she was running up to the door, as she was trying to answer the door, she heard, and this was the voice of Peter. She recognized this voice. So she runs back to the house and tells those Christian people who were praying in the room, saying, hey, the Peter is just outside the door. But people didn't pay attention to her, not saying, that cannot be possible. Peter's locked up. He's in prison. Rhoda, what are you doing? You know? 이렇게 그 소녀의 베드로가 문 앞에서 있습니다. 라고 얘기하는 것을 기도하고 있는 성도들은 별로 이렇게 귀 기울이지 않았었던, 믿지 않았었던 이런 상황들을 사도행전 12장에서 우리들에게 12절이죠. 얘기해주고 있는 모습을 보게 됩니다. So picture this. So there's a house, and there's a room within that house, which is always, I guess, has enough room for Christians to gather. And even on this night, when Peter was locked up, Christians still gathered to this place. And it looks like this is the usual place where Christians gathered all the time. Why? Because when Peter was released from the prison in that night, where do you go in the middle of the night when everything is closed, when everything is locked up? Well, naturally, he just walked to this particular place, this house, knowing that as he goes to this house, which is not his house, certainly wasn't his house, and yet he knew if he goes to the house, that there will be Christians gathering and praying all throughout the night. Peter knew that. And the Luke records that event saying, that is the house of Mary, the mother of Mark. And this Mark was also known as John. So we get to have so much information about Mark, saying, okay, Mark has lived in a big house. And where Mark has lived, that's where Christians gathered to pray and do their Christian stuff, right? And also we know that this young man by the name Mark was also known as John amongst the Jews. And we say, Mark, John, are they two different names? Well, there are two different names, but it's also just one name to those people who lived in those regions. Why? Because Mark is a typical Roman name. John is a typical Jewish name. So in a Roman style, people called him Mark, but in a Jewish community, people called him John. And no one was confused about who they were talking about. Mark, oh, John. John, oh, Mark. It's the same person, right? And at the same time, you gather all those pieces of information together and you can say, okay, Mark probably have lived in a very big house where there were servants who were serving to run the household, right? And having that servant who, as Peter was knocking on the door, had to run up to the main gate and open the door to have the person enter into the main. So it's a big house. And as Peter goes through the gate and walks into the house, he was led to they call it upper room. Upper room has a sizable, space where all these numerous Christians were doing their Christian things. 이렇게 참 큰 집에 살고 있었던 모습을 보게 되고 아까도 말씀드렸지만 he's also known in both names, right? A Roman name and a Jewish name. So maybe that reflects something about his family background. Something that reflects about their financial, background and also their status, having known to the community with the Roman names as an official name. You can have nicknames just like us. I don't know how you named yourself when you came to Australia because Koreans were not. Our English names are not given to us at birth by our parents, right? We make our own names. Well, I can tell you how I made my name. I decided to call myself Alex. And why? Because that was back in 82, 81. Oh, I didn't know the alphabet at all, right? All that I knew was maybe first few letters of the alphabet. I was trying to learn the English. And as I was watching a TV show, Michael J. Fox was starring in it, in this sitcom called Family Ties. And that character's name was Alex. So Alex was boy's name that I knew. I said, okay, that sounds all right. So I decided to call myself Alex. And it's just a simple process of naming myself that way. And obviously, that's I guess, an unusual, a typical migrant, way of naming yourself that way, right? Mark was different. He was known as Mark from birth. The community knew him as Mark. And it looks like, I guess, we can perhaps guess that he probably also had maybe a Roman citizenship, just like how Paul, from last Sunday that we have read in Acts chapter 21 and 22, as he has a conversation with the centurion and the Roman commander, saying, well, I had Roman citizen from birth. Wow, you know what? I had to pay a big money to get the citizenship, and you had the citizenship from the birth. That sort of, shows something about Paul's social status as well. And likewise, Mark probably shared a similar status as to Paul, in that he was able to enjoy comfortable life even during the time where Romans were oppressing the Jewish people, and the life of the Jewish people wasn't that easy during that time. But somehow his family was doing pretty okay. 이런 연결들을 해보게 된다면은 우리가 성경에서는 분명하게 나오지 않지만 상당히 근거 있게 마지막 만찬을 했었던 그 집이 예수님이 승천하신 후에 제자들이 그 집으로 돌아가서 기도에 전념을 했고 그 집에서 오순절 성령 강림을 경험했고 그 집에서 계속해서 모여서 기도하면서 힘썼는데 사도행전 10장에 보니까 그 집이 마가의 집이었구나. 이런 식으로 연결을 해볼 수 있는 근거들을 우리가 성경에서 발견하지 않을까 싶습니다. So linking all these informations together, we can perhaps guess. It's not proven. It's not 100% fact. It's a bit of a guesswork involved using those hints. Linking the Last Supper, the place where they had it, and then linking that to where Jesus, as disciples saying goodbye to Jesus, as Jesus was, going up to the heaven. He's come back. Goes back to, the Bible says, the same place where they were lodging, and at that same place they started praying. And the Pentecost came, and the Spirit fell upon them, and the number was like 120 plus. So it all links, and that together with Acts chapter 12, where now finally that house happens to be Mary's house, and Mary has a son, and his name is Mark, also known as John. So putting all those hints together, we can perhaps guess about Mark's background in a certain way. Now, continuing from then, As you continue to read through Mark chapter 12, Acts chapter 12, okay, where was Mark when Peter was knocked on that door on that night? Well, the Bible says Mark wasn't there in the house. Why? Because Mark was doing a mission trip with Barnabas and Saul. Now, notice this. See, even at this early stage, Saul was known as Saul, not Paul. The Apostle Paul was still called as Saul, his old name. And also, naming sequence, that team was known as Barnabas and Saul. See, there's a significance of having whose name comes front, because that reflects the leadership, that reflects the authority. See, even at this stage, Barnabas was actually training Paul to a certain extent, Saul to a certain extent, because we know that when Saul met Jesus and his life has turned around significantly, still the Jerusalem Christians were not sure about that person. And as those Christians were still not sure about Paul, it was Barnabas who has given them a reference. Trust me, take my word. Please welcome him into your community. He's okay. He's safe. He will be used by God like all of us. 이런 식으로 바나바가 보증을 서주면서 사울을 예루살렘 교회로 소개했었던 이런 관계가 있었기 때문에 so in the light of that kind of relationship, Barnabas and Saul enjoyed very close and special relationship. It's more when it comes to ministry, doing ministry together. They were tight. They were a team. They moved together. And as they did the mission works, now this mission work is not officially called, well, later we get to see the official namings of their journeys, saying Paul's first missionary journey, Paul's second missionary journey, and third missionary journey, and then he gets locked up and goes to church. Anyway, so those official first, official name is even before these official mission trips. Barnabas and Saul were still very active in traveling. And as they were traveling, they called it was a mission work. A young man by the name of Mark was with them. 이렇게 마가는 이미 어렸을 때부터 선교 현장에 함께 참여하고 있었던 모습들을 보게 됩니다. And issue pops up as Barnabas and Saul plans their official first mission trip as they land at this place in the very beginning phase, a stage of their first mission trip. Mark, with unknown reasons, we don't know why he did it, but he abandons them and goes back to Jerusalem, goes back home. And that becomes a problem because when Paul and Barnabas plans a second missionary trip, Paul says, let's not take Mark anymore because he abandoned us. And that becomes such an issue where Paul and Barnabas had a big quarrel, and they had to actually go different ways since then. 이렇게 바울과 바나바의 여정에 그들이 갈라지게 되는 원인을 제공했었던 마가의 실수, 무슨 일인지 모르겠지만 마가의 어쨌든 적합하지 않은 이유들이 있었던 것들을 보게 됩니다. Now, let's actually bring all that together and ask this question. Imagine that you were Mark's mom. Perhaps imagine that you are Mark's father. Hearing the news that your son has just abandoned Paul and Barnabas and came back home. So as you as a mom, you as a father, opens the door and welcomes the son in. Says, okay, son, you're back home. Why? Why did you come back? 기분이 어땠을까요? What do you think? How Mary might have felt of seeing her son abandoning the church leaders and just come home all of a sudden for no reason? That's one thing. What do you think the Christian community would have reacted hearing that Mark has abandoned the mission trip? How do you think Paul and Barnabas felt as they saw Mark deciding to go home? You know, as we read about these stories that happened 2,000 years ago, well, it still rings the bell in us. You know, there's a huge resonance because we can relate to what is happening. Why? Because HSN, the high school student missions, as they're doing mission work, you know, in Laos, in Bangkok, and we gotta confess to you, those parents of those students who are doing the mission work, well, it's not unusual for us to get a phone call from our kids trying to convince us that they want to come home straight away. That's it. That's enough. They had enough. They want to come home. So each and every one of us as parents were hearing from our children that they want to come home. And what that means, they want to abandon the group. They're going to call it off. And whatever that happens with the group, they don't know. They don't want to know about it. They're, as far as they're concerned, as an individual, they're done with the group. They want to come home. And it's, you know, I also having a son who's doing the mission work and hearing the same phone call to me saying, trying to convince, Dad, I'm old enough to catch the plane, but no flight by myself, and I'm sure it's legal. Can I come home? Oh, and that's how I was able to relate with Mary, you know. Putting myself in Mary's position and seeing and having Mark come back home like this for no reason. Oh, how would she, I don't know, what can she say to Paul and Barnabas? And what can she say to the church Christian community about what just has happened about to her son? 참 이게 민망한, probably a little, I don't know, embarrassed, a little awkward. I guess it's not a proud moment. 이렇게 자랑스러운 자리는 아니었겠구나 싶은 생각이 듭니다. And then taking this step further. As Paul and Barnabas are planning their second mission journey, Mary sees them having a big quarrel about their son. It was about their son, Mark. And Mark and Paul and Barnabas just couldn't agree together to give Mark a second chance. And Paul strongly expresses his reason. I don't know why, what reason, because we don't know, it's not written in the Bible, but Paul decides not to give Mark any more chance. Paul says, that's it, I'm not taking him anymore. That's why Barnabas decided to actually take him on his own and they depart. And since then, they were never together. 그 이후는 바울과 바나바가 서로 사역을 같이 안 하게 되는 성경의 기록들을 보면 이런 모습들을 보게 됩니다. 자, 엄마로서 마음이 어땠을까요? 마음이 어땠을까요? 부끄러울 거고 걱정될 거고 뭐 하여튼 여러 가지 복잡한 마음들이 있었을 것 같습니다. Now, another thing that we need to include as we go through this movement in Mark's life. And if someone comes to me and says, hey, why was Barnabas so keen to give Mark another chance? Why was Barnabas so keen to bring him along to his continuous journeys? Unlike Paul. 바울은 기회를 주지 않겠다고 작정을 했지만 바나바는 왜 자꾸 이렇게 마가에게 긍휼을 베풀고 기회를 주고 또 계속해서 데려가서 계속 훈련을 시켰을까요? 라고 얘기한다면 when you read Colossians, Paul's letter to Colossians, you'll find information about family relationship between Barnabas and Mark. And through that verse, we get to know that Mark was Barnabas' nephew. 조카였어요. 이 바나바의 조카였다는 거죠. And through that particular word that's been used in Colossians, now we know that Mary, the mother of Mark, and Barnabas, well, they were brother and sister. They come from the same family. 서로 남매지간이었구나라는 것을 보게 됩니다. And Barnabas himself was no poor man. Why? In the beginning of the book of Acts, Barnabas was the one who sold his land and brought the prophets to the church. 이렇게 바나바도 초대교회 때에 자기의 땅을 팔아서 그 돈으로 교회에 헌금했다라고 하는 부분들이 기록되어 있는 것을 보게 됩니다. And that must have been a significant action, because it must have been a very noticeable thing. Why? Out of all those people who has been doing all these givings as they come together in early churches, it was Barnabas. This man sold his land and brought all the prophets to the church. That must have been a very significant thing that people had to notice, and Luke had to actually write about it. 이렇게 이 두 남매가 상당히 그 부요한 이런 그 상황 속에서 초대교회를 섬기고 지원하고 집을 제공하고 선교 여정에 계속 힘을 실어줬던 모습들을 보게 됩니다. So, brother and sister, these siblings, coming from a very affluent family, they offered their house for the Christian gatherings, and they supported Christian missions. They were financially very active in participating and building God's kingdom like that. And same story is continuing even today, right? We have a lot of rich Christians among us who are very active and generous in giving, and through their help, we have a lot of support. 저도 선교 여정을 하고 있는 여러 그런 상황 속에서 참 부요한 이 성도들이 우리의 상황을 전해 듣고 또 기도하던 중에 우리들을 기억해서 큰 재정으로 우리를 도우셨었던 그런 기억들을 우리가 많이 하고 있습니다. So, 여러분, become rich, make a lot of money. It's not a shameful thing for Christians to become rich. And with those riches, be active in continuing and participating in expanding God's kingdom and supporting church to grow. 이렇게 여러분이 정말 하나님의 은혜 가운데 부요한 자가 되시고 그 부요함으로 하나님의 나라에 재정적으로도 큰 힘이 되어주는 그런 섬김을 이루어내시면 얼마나 또 그것이 귀한 섬김이 될까 생각을 해보게 됩니다. So, as number of years passed by, Paul locked up in a prison. In 2 Timothy chapter 4, and we know 2 Timothy chapter 4, we know it's got a nickname to it. It's Paul's will. It's Paul's last words. And as we read Paul's last words, Paul says, please bring Mark, because he is helpful to my ministry. He writes, please bring Mark, because he is helpful to my ministry. 나의 사역에 유익한 자, 이 마가를 빨리 데리고 와라. I want to see him. I want to meet him before I die. So by then, Paul has not only accepted as Mark, but he recognizes Mark as someone who's very useful in God's kingdom, someone who's very useful in doing ministry together, in doing mission work together, so much that he wanted to see him before he dies. 이렇게 마가는 바나바의 양육을 통해서 초대교회의 또 선교 현장에 굉장히 유익한 지도자로 성장해 온 것을 보게 됩니다. So Paul is writing this letter in a prison in Rome. And as he asks Timothy to bring Mark, obviously we can guess by this time Mark wasn't in Rome yet. But Timothy called Mark, and Mark comes to Rome. And after the death of Paul, it looks like Mark continued to stay in Rome. And perhaps Peter has also joined Mark. Why? Because when we read letters written by Peter, it's clear that Peter was already in Rome, encouraging the Christians within and beyond. 이렇게 그 여정 속에서 마가가 로마로 합류하게 되고 베드로도 그 여정 가운데 로마로 오게 되고 그들이 로마에 남아서 이 사역을 해 나갔던 것들을 보게 됩니다. So the scholars assume that they figure out that Paul died during the time of Nero, when Emperor Nero persecuted Christians. Paul was the one also was killed during that time. And that was probably year 64, 65 AD. So by that time, Mark was in Rome. And within those short number of years after death of Paul, that's the time when Mark writes the Gospel of Mark there by the help of Peter. And you read 1 Peter, Peter's letter in 1 Peter, at the end, it goes, I am greeting the church in Babylon together with my son Mark. See, Peter introduces Mark as his son to the Christian community. 이렇게 마가는 또 그 이후에도 so now we know that he was not only tight with Barnabas and Paul, Mark was also very tight with Apostle Peter. The Peter addressed him as my son, and so what. So what do we know of Mark after the death of Paul and after the death of Peter? After the Bible, New Testament Bible being completed. Okay, so we get to actually hear the mention of Mark in the early Christian leadership in late first and into 2nd century AD. So we have a bishop called Pius, and he mentions Mark, and he says, well, Mark, we know Mark as Peter's interpreter, a translator, and also Peter's scribe. 그래서 베드로의 통역관으로서 또 베드로의 대필자로서 마크를 우리는 알고 있다라고 하는 기록들을 보게 됩니다. So in what ways was Mark Peter's scribe? Well, look at that. That's a big hint. It's a hint. See, early Christian leaders knew that the Gospel of Mark was actually Peter's Gospel. It was Peter who told the story to Mark, and Mark was the one who wrote the Gospel, right? And by Mark writing the Gospel, the Christian leadership saw Mark as Peter's scribe. 그래서 이 마가가 베드로의 대필자다라고 하는 것은 이 마가복음의 소스가 베드로였다라는 것을 이 초대교회 리더십은 다 이미 이렇게 알고 있었던 것을 보게 되고요. And we knew Peter, as I guess, was not that much educated as a man from Galilee, as a fisherman. And so Mark, who was known as Mark, a Roman name since birth, right? Also a Jewish name, John. I'm sure he had a very good, high-quality education as he was being brought up. Being brought up in a very affluent family like Mary and Barnabas, right? Having Mary as mom and Barnabas as his uncle. I'm sure he probably was taught well as he was growing up, and all that education became very handy when it came to helping out Paul and Peter, right, in doing international missions in first century world. 이렇게 초대교회의 그 당시의 세계를 선교하는 상황에 있어서 마가와 같은 교육을 받은 사람이 얼마나 정말 그 효과적으로 섬김이 이루어졌을까를 보게 되는 부분이기도 합니다. What else do we know about Mark? Well, Justin the Martyr, that's a very big name that we all know, right? Justin the Martyr, well, he has written his apology during 155 AD. So that's something like about 90 years after the completion of the Gospel of Mark. So it's still very, it's not that far in terms of the periodical gap. And in there, Justin Martyr, it's really interesting to actually point out these 8 or 6 points. Right? Because Justin the Martyr describes what Christians did when they come together. And he was the first one who worded it out, saying, was Sunday was the day that the Christians gathered. Now you come and ask, imagine you ask one another, what? Since when did we meet on Sundays? Didn't Jewish people meet on Saturdays for their Sabbath and synagogue and the Jewish religious stuff? That all happened on Saturdays. Why Christians? Since when do you think the Christians started gathering? Not on Saturdays, but on Sundays? Well, Justin the Martyr says, as early as 2nd century, Christians were already meeting on Sundays. And he gives a reason. Why? because that's the day that the Lord Jesus has resurrected. 그래서 일요일이 예수께서 부활하신 날이었기 때문에 크리스찬들은 이날 모여서 예배했다라고 하는 기록을 정확하게 또 이 사람이 기록에 남기고 있는 모습을 보게 됩니다. So day, Sunday. Okay, so what do Christian people do when they come to meet together on Sundays? Look, number 2, well, there will be a particular reader appointed on a day, on a given day, and he will read from the Gospels and also from the writings of the prophets. For how long? As long as the time permitted. 그래서 시간이 허락되는 한 그냥 충분히 성경을 읽고요. And thirdly, the pastor, the leader of the group will stand up and explain the passage to the group. It's like modern day preaching, modern day sermon, right? So they did that. And after that, number 4, they all rise together to pray. It's an interesting practice, isn't it? When it comes to prayer, it was a norm thing for the Christian community to get up and pray. And Jewish people, not only they would get up, but they will raise hands to heavens as they pray. 그래서 그들의 어떤 행동 또한 여기에 기도하는 때는 모두가 다 일어나서 기도했다라고 얘기해주고 있고요. Now, after the prayer, they had a meal. The host brings out wine and the bread, and all together they had a meal. And not only that, they will, pack the meal and send it over to those who didn't make it on that day. 그래서 그 주일날 예배에 참석하지 못한 성도를 기억하고 they call deacons. 모르는데 집사님들, right? They call deacons. So deacons are the helpers who will pack the meal, the leftover meal, and take it to those households who didn't come to church on that day. 그래서 커뮤니티에 서로를 돌봐주고 있는 모습들을 보게 되고요. And after having the meal, what do? They had an offering. Yeah, number 6, they gave what each felt fit. 좋은 표현이죠. There wasn't a specified amount or membership fee, so-called. No, it wasn't like that. Everyone gave according to how much they felt it was fit for them, for each individual to give. 그래서 그들이 그냥 할 수 있을 만큼의 헌금을 했고요. And that giving, if you read his writing, was given to the widow, to those who are in prison, those who are traveling among them. And basically he says, well, whoever was in need, that finance, that offering was used to help them. 이렇게 그들을 구제하는 일에 사용했다라고 하는 기록들을 보게 됩니다. 자, 이걸 읽은 이유는 무엇이냐면 their first or second point was it as they read the Gospels. It was they called it memoir of the disciples. The stories told by the disciples, and amongst them they read the Gospel of Mark. 그래서 마가의 복음 또한 이미 초대교회 예배 현장 속에서 성도들이 모일 때마다 함께 읽었었던 말씀 중에 하나였다라는 것을 증명하는 부분이 되기도 합니다. 그 다음에 계속해서 또 유세비어스라고 하는 비숍은 he has written vast volume of writings, right? So I'm sure he's probably said something about Mark, and that's right. In his writing, he tells about 3 things about Mark. Eusebius mentions Mark several times in his writings, right? First, now they say that this Mark was the first that was sent to Egypt. There you go. So after doing ministry in Rome, Mark was actually sent to Egypt to start a Christian community there. And guess what? If you go to Egypt now, there's an Egyptian Coptic churches, right? And for them, their founding father is Mark. 지금도 이집트의 컵틱 교회는 마가가 그 교회의 창시자로서 인정이 되어지고 있는 이런 모습들을 보게 됩니다. And also, Eusebius also mentions Mark's association with Peter in his discussion of the authorship of the Gospels. You see, so even by the 4th century, Eusebius says, well, the Gospel, what we know as Gospel of the Mark, we know it's the Gospel of Peter. Mark was just a scribe. 이런 식으로 초대교회 사람들은 마가복음을 베드로복음으로 그냥 상식으로 알고 있었던 모습들을 보게 됩니다. Let me wrap up. 이제 말씀을 좀 정리를 했으면 좋겠습니다. 자, 마가를 키웠었던 엄마의 심정은 어땠을까? 마가 이런저런 실수를 했을 때 그 실수가 이렇게 성경에 기록으로 남아서 2000년이 지난 우리들도 그때 그 사건이 있었던 것을 알 정도로 이렇게 기록이 남은 그런 아들을 가진 엄마의 마음은 얼마나 아찔했을까? 얼마나 정말 두근두근 거렸을까? 얼마나 정말 민망했었고 부끄러웠었고 막 당황스러웠을까라는 점들을 우리가 한번 생각해 볼 필요가 있지 않을까 싶습니다. Look, people make mistakes. We all do make mistakes, but there are certain mistakes when you record it. Even after 2,000 years, Christian community talks about it. Now that's a big issue, isn't it? Wow, Mark made a certain mistake in Paul and Barnabas, their first mission journey. And even after 2,000 years, we are talking about this mistake. Oof. How do you think his mother would have felt about this? 우리가 차세대를 생각하면서 두세 가지만 우리가 좀 적용을 해봤으면 좋겠습니다. So let's actually just apply and learn from the life of Mark and come up with just 2 or 3 points. First, yes, next generation. As we commit in raising next generation, we've got to allow room for them to make mistakes. No, we've got to allow them to make, we've got to allow room for them to make mistakes. 그게 첫 번째겠죠? 우리 자녀들이 실수할 수 있는 공간을 허락하세요. Why? Because if we become a community where we are too focused and too dedicated, and if we become a community where we are not that generous when it comes to seeing people making mistakes, it can become a harsh community, right? It can become a judgmental community. And it can become a community where it becomes just too scary for the young people to come and visit and do their life, because each and every time when they make a mistake, you don't want to have elders and pastors come to you and say, hey, boy, who's your mom, who's your father, bring them along, just 이렇게 하는 것, 무서운 교회들이 있었기 때문에 얘기를 하는 것이죠. 그래서 이민교회를 할 때, look, okay, just reflecting my experience of growing up in a migrant church, right? Being taught and educated in Australia with Aussie ways of living, laid back, easy going, and when on Sundays you come to a Korean church, a very traditional church where 목사님 and elders are still living the old way of Korean way of doing things, and they don't allow these Australian relaxed expressions of life in your clothing, in your words, of choice of words and things that you do, right? So they are always quick to correct you and say, oh, who's your mother? Okay, why are you wearing that? Are you 입는 거, 말하는 거, why are you bowing properly? Look, come, bow, that's bowing. Make sure your father, who is Mr. So-and-so, I know your father, make sure he teach you to bow each and every time that you see. How, you're actually just kicking them out of the church, aren't you, by doing that? So, lesson number 1, let's create room for the next generation to do their own things in our boundaries, Just allow them. 두 번째, we as parents, let's accept that there will be ongoing occasions where we'll be embarrassed by our children's mistakes. Let's allow that. You don't need to be a perfect mom. You don't need, like Korean culture, as much of Asian cultures, it's about shame culture. And that's painful, because you got to act as if everything is okay when it's not okay. But you got to act still, put on a good smiling face because you are a good Asian family. Let us be a church where we allow and don't, accuse and judge and evaluate each other because of this shame culture. Let's not bring that culture into our community. 이 두 번째 좀 레슨이 됐으면 좋겠습니다. And thirdly, let's learn from Barnabas and let's not give up on our kids. Let's not be quick in judging someone and finalize and define someone as who they are. Just name someone and that's it. Let's not do that. And learn from Barnabas and let's just continue to encourage and give another chance give another room so that they can continue to make mistakes. Because through mistakes, they learn and grow and expect God to do wonderful things in their lives. So just like Mark, that he would become a writer of the gospel, that he would become a Christian leader, a church leader, not just in a Roman church, but he was sent to Egypt to start a whole new denomination there, right? 우리 자녀들도 우리 교회 안에서도 당당한 리더가 되고 우리 교회 안에서뿐만이 아니라 that he will be a blessing to many local churches around and beyond, that our children will become a blessing to the nations. But that perhaps some of our children will go to some remote regions of the world and start a church there and be recorded by the historians that so-and-so became the father of the church in certain regions and countries. And that would be an amazing journey for God's glory and for God's kingdom. 그래서 오늘 이렇게 어린이 주일을 맞이하여서 우리가 엄마 마리아의 심정을 조금 헤아려 보면서 우리 안에 계속해서 그 다음 마크가 배출이 되고 성장이 되고 세워지는 그러한 교회가 되기를 주님의 이름으로 축원합니다. 영어로도 한 번 더 할게요. Yeah, we want to be a church where we will continue to raise another mark by allowing each other for that space, for that room, and for that generosity, and continuing to exercise forgiveness, forgiving one another and giving each other another chance, another opportunity, another room so that they can grow. So let us not be a community where we will judge and evaluate and be harsh and drive people out. 같이 기도하겠습니다. Let's pray.